After the lecture, cadets poured into the corridor with the charged energy of people who had just been reminded that their lives belonged to history. Evelyn walked beside Luke, visibly moved. My grandmother saw Professor Strauss speak once. She said no one understood the Exodus like she does. Jones shoved his hands in his pockets. Convenient, considering she has never been to Earth. Evelyn looked offended. Nobody has been to Earth. Exactly. Sarah glanced at him. Careful. What? I said the dead planet is inconveniently unavailable for peer review. Luke frowned. You don't believe the lecture? Jones sighed. I believe parts of it. Which parts? The parts with explosions. Evelyn stopped walking. That's disrespectful. No. Disrespectful is calling uncertainty treason. Luke studied Jones. Why are you here if you think all of this is false? Jones's expression changed. For once the sarcasm left him. Because my father was security tier. His father was security tier. His father died guarding oxygen tanks during the second rationing. You know what I become if I don't graduate? Luke did not answer. Jones smiled without humor. Security tier. Sarah said quietly, there are worse lives. Yes. And that's how they keep us grateful for cages with windows. Evelyn looked genuinely disturbed. Mars is a meritocracy. Jones pointed down the corridor. Then count. No one understood. Count the gray collars. Luke looked. Hundreds of cadets passed through the Hall of Founders. Silver administrative marks. Blue scientific marks. White command marks. Green engineering marks. A few brown logistics marks. Gray labor marks were almost absent. He counted 3. Including himself. Jones leaned closer. The exception doesn't disprove the rule, Ashford. He nodded toward Luke's collar. It advertises it. Then he walked away. The others remained in silence. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Luke felt the ground beneath the story shift by one small, almost invisible degree. Not enough to disbelieve. Enough to notice. That night Luke found Angel in the botanical dome. She stood beside an artificial stream, reading from a tablet, its pale light reflected in the water. The dome was nearly empty. Simulated moonlight fell through the canopy of imported trees. Somewhere hidden in the branches, mechanical insects hummed to pollinate flowers that had never known Earth. Luke sat beside her. Do you think Mars is fair? Angel did not answer immediately. That was how he knew the question mattered. Fair compared to what? I don't know. Then it's a difficult question. That doesn't mean it isn't real. She closed the tablet. Did Jones say something? Luke almost smiled. Jones always says something. Angel looked toward the trees. Mars is hard. That's not what I asked. No. But it's the honest beginning of an answer. She folded her hands in her lap. We live on a planet that never wanted us. Every breath is manufactured. Every liter of water is mined, purified and guarded. Every child born here survives because millions of decisions were made correctly before they opened their eyes. Luke listened. This was the angel he trusted. Not the administrator's daughter repeating slogans. The mind beneath the training. She continued. Fairness is not simple under conditions like that. Shouldn't it matter more under conditions like that? Angel looked at him. There it was again. The thing he said without strategy. The thing that made her love him and fear for him at the same time. Yes, she said finally. Luke was surprised. She smiled faintly. I didn't say Mars was perfect. No one says that. Everyone says that. Just in different words. They sat beside the stream. Beyond the glass, Olympus Mons rose invisible in the dark. Luke turned the identification plate over in his hand. My father believed all of it. The exodus? Everything. The sacrifice. The progenitors. The frontier. He used to say mining ice was how poor men held up the sky. Angel's expression softened. And do you believe that? Luke looked at the trees. I did. Did? I still do. He hesitated. I just wonder why the poor men are always the ones holding it. Angel did not answer. There was no answer available that did not damage something between them. Weeks passed. The academy devoured them. Luke learned orbital mechanics until the equations followed him into sleep. He learned vacuum discipline, emergency medicine, close quarters maneuvering, combat theory, industrial command structure, and above all, neural operations. The first time he entered the simulator chamber, he nearly collapsed. A silver crown of interface needles descended over his skull. Technicians secured his wrists. His breath came too fast. Instructor Graves stood behind the glass. Begin synchronization. The world disappeared. Luke was no longer sitting in a chair. He was looking through 6 cameras at once. No, not looking. Existing. A mining drone flexed a mechanical arm. Luke felt the movement as if it were a phantom limb. Another drone activated traction claws. Another rotated cutting lasers toward a simulated asteroid surface. His mind stretched. Split. Reassembled. He tried to raise his right hand. 3 machines moved. Pain flashed behind his eyes. He screamed. The system shut down. The room returned. Technicians rushed in. Graves watched through the glass without visible concern. Later, after Luke stopped vomiting, Jones handed him water. Good news. Luke groaned. What? Your machines looked as confused as you did. Sarah knelt beside him. That was normal. First synchronization overloads everyone. Evelyn added, I lasted 14 seconds. Luke blinked. How long did I last? Jones smiled. 11. Luke closed his eyes. Wonderful. Graves entered the room. Again. Luke looked up. Now? Unless your conscience needs more time. Jones whispered, Don't answer that. Luke stood. His legs shook. He returned to the chair. The crown descended. The world split open again. This time he lasted 17 seconds. By the end of the month, he could operate 12 machines without losing balance. By the end of the season, 30. By winter, instructors stopped calling him reckless. They began calling him unusual. Machines obeyed other cadets. With Luke, they seemed to cooperate. During one simulation, a support drone malfunctioned and collided with a cutter unit. Most operators would have abandoned the damaged machine. Luke diverted 3 drones, stabilized the damaged unit, and completed the extraction with only minor delays. Graves reviewed the footage afterward. You wasted resources saving a non-essential platform. Luke, still sweating from synchronization, answered automatically. It was part of the team. It's a machine. Then we should build machines we don't mind losing. The room went quiet. Graves stared at him for several seconds. Then, almost imperceptibly, she smiled. Dismissed. The academy changed him. Slowly. Not into someone else. Into someone sharper. He learned when to speak and when silence carried more force. He learned how power sounded when it was polite. He learned that rules were often written as if they applied to everyone while being enforced as if they did not. He learned the names of cadets whose parents sat on councils. He learned that those cadets made mistakes without consequence. He learned that workers were praised as the foundation of civilization, yet almost never invited to design its future. None of these discoveries broke his faith. Not yet. They only made faith heavier. 6 months after arrival, all neural operations cadets assembled for the first classified briefing on Project Phantom. The doors sealed. Devices were confiscated. The statues dimmed. A black spacecraft appeared above the central platform. No one breathed. It was beautiful in a way Martian machines rarely were. Not heavy. Not ancient. Not patched, repaired, or inherited. New. A blade of shadow suspended in the air. Professor Strauss stood beside the projection. Cadets, what you are about to see represents the greatest technological achievement since the Exodus. The vessel rotated slowly. Phantom 1. Data unfolded around it. Exotic field cloaking. Low-emission fusion drive. Neural mining integration. Autonomous asteroid extraction. Extended silence capability beyond Phobos and Deimos. Strauss continued. For 2 centuries, Mars has endured confinement. Every attempt to reach the asteroid belt has failed. Every probe, every mining platform, every crewed expedition beyond the Martian sphere has been lost to accidents too consistent to be neglected. Images appeared. Exploding vessels. Static-filled recordings. Last transmissions. Luke watched faces of dead pilots flicker across the hall. Earth does not speak, Strauss said. But silence is not innocence. The phantom projection expanded. This vessel will change that. A murmur moved through the cadets. Beside Luke, Angel's hand briefly touched his. So briefly no one else noticed. Strauss raised her voice. With Phantom, Mars will reach the asteroid belt unseen. With neural mining, a handful of operators will command entire extraction swarms. With those resources, we will build fleets. Habitats. Cities. We will cross Jupiter's orbit. Saturn's. The outer dark itself. The stars above the hall brightened. Mars will no longer merely survive. She paused. Mars will inherit the solar system. The chamber erupted. Cadets stood. Applause thundered beneath the statues of the founders. Luke rose slowly with everyone else, staring at the black ship. He felt awe. Fear. Purpose. For one intoxicating moment, all his doubts dissolved into the larger story. The frontier. The sacrifice. The future. Maybe this was why his father had died. Maybe this was why his mother had worked until her lungs failed. Maybe this was why miners held up the sky. So one day someone could climb beyond it. From the rear of the hall, Administrator Marcus Vallon watched the cadets applaud. His eyes were not on Phantom. They were on Luke. Far above Mars, beyond the range of official colony sensors, a small object drifted in the dark. It was not Martian. It had watched the academy. The mines. The launch yards. The domes. It had watched for longer than any Martian had been alive. A signal pulse left the object, narrow and silent, aimed toward the inner solar system. Minutes later, far away, in an orbital listening station near Earth, a human technician received the transmission. She read the data twice. Then a third time. Her expression changed. Martian stealth development confirmed, she said. Another voice, mechanical and cold, answered through the station network. Threat assessment? The technician looked at the image of Phantom 1. Then at the projected survival probabilities of its first mission. Her voice softened. Not a threat. A pause. A rescue risk. The network remained silent for several seconds. Then a final instruction appeared. Notify Dharma, the technician obeyed. Back on Mars, Luke Ashford stood beneath the founders, applauding the ship that would carry him toward the truth. He believed he was being chosen for humanity's first victory over Earth. He did not know Earth had just begun preparing to follow his journey. And because he did not know, he smiled.